I'll now call the September 10, 2019 regular meeting of council to order. And council, your patience please before we adopt the agenda. Just a public safety notice. RCMP are cracking down on distracted driving and seatbelts, so buckle up and put your phone down. That being said, item 2.1, adoption of the agenda for this evening, please, with an amendment. Remove 5.1, there's no delegation this evening. And the addition of item 7.2, a request from Northern Health, and item 9.3, airport fuel station upgrade. Motion please as amended. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson. Any more additions or deletions from this meeting agenda? Hearing none, all in favor? It carries. Item 3.1, we have a public comment period on items considered by council as part of this approved agenda. So these must be put forth on topics that are not normally dealt with by village staff. They shall be addressed through myself and answers given likewise. Debates with or by individual members of council or staff are not allowed during this time. No commitments shall be made by council in replying to a question, and if matters which may require action of council shall be tabled to a future meeting. Most importantly, bylaws and temporary use permits that have been considered at a public hearing but have not yet received final approval should not be raised during this time. Individuals must state their name and area of residence for identification purposes, and we will be limited to 2 minutes per comment, and we will be timed through this handy-dandy timer. Are there any public comments this evening? Yes.
My name is Carleena. I live in Valemount.
Welcome.
I have a comment with regards to the request by Rosemary to have the village support them $7,500 for a property development grant for developing community. The project that RBCS described is exactly the funding that was, exactly the project that was got funding for. The other thing is that I'm just surprised to see that the village has found money for that. And a couple of months ago, we had senior staff come to a meeting and say there's no money available. And to see the money not being available to a village-appointed housing committee that was pushing forward an identical project and suddenly the money is found. I don't understand it. And the CPT money they're applying for is for a housing project. It's not for anything else because that's what the funding is for. I did a lot of research on project development grants and made a report to council, our committee. So they had to make an application to the Rural Dividend Fund, fund matching funds, and we won't know the results of that application until March because the village will not able to give matching funds at the time. So the work with Sylvia's application includes RBCS and all the housing stakeholders and broad community needs. And all the work Carleena is describing is included as part of Sylvia's grant application, including capital costs for infrastructure, SATA, construction, everything. So I don't understand why we're duplicating the work with another organization. We're already having issues of duplication.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all.
Are there additional public comments? Yes.
My name is Riette Henkel. I'm the president of VARS, and I'm a resident of Valemount.
Welcome.
Thank you. VARS agrees with the housing concerns raised by Ross Valley Community Services. In fact, some of our board members, while representing VARS and the Village Housing Committee, presented some of the same concerns to council several months ago when we requested council support to provide land in principle for affordable housing. We support their work because effective housing does require all hands on deck. VAR's sole purpose is to provide affordable housing, and we have learned a lot in the past 2 years since we've been doing this work. It is difficult, time-consuming, and complex work expected to be done by volunteers, as there are no operating funds available for staff. Our first project, Juniper Square, is an affordable housing project that is not subsidized, with rental rates set at or below market rates, as determined by CMHC and BC Housing. There are no subsidies for this housing, so we are 100% responsible for our expenses, including a mortgage. Also, we recently received approval from CMHC for $1.3 million for the same fund to which RVCS wants to apply, as well as funding from CBT. This money is for a 13-unit building for families and seniors with a mix of 30% affordable housing, 50% rent geared to income, and 20% deep subsidy. Since receiving that approval, we've been working with our consultants, BC Housing, and an architect to come up with a viable plan. This housing is to be subsidized. But even with these approvals in place, there's no guarantee that BC Housing will approve the final budget because construction costs are so much higher in Valemount, and they're only willing to go so far with their subsidy ratios. If this project is approved, it will address some of the housing concerns raised by RVCS, but we need more than 13 units. VAR's board members would be more than happy to meet with RVCS and the village to share some of our experience and understanding of this long and sometimes complicated process, especially if the village is prepared to provide land in principle, as that would bring the operating costs down considerably, which would make things so much easier. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there additional public comments this evening?
Eugene Jamin. This is a project that's needed by Valemount. We know and have identified that there is a housing shortage. How we go about it is another thing altogether. And for me, there's been a lot of work that's been tried to be done by the Housing Committee. And I'm hoping that there's further cooperation with RVCS towards together building a plan. I noticed in the documents that they have one of the charrettes that was developed during that process. There are 3 more, I believe. And for me, I appreciate the work that's being done, but I really want to see that cooperatively we bring this about. And it is difficult. We all have vested interests, and it makes it very difficult to come to consensus. But I really feel that without it, we are doing ourselves a disservice. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there additional public comments this evening? Seeing none, hearing none, motion please to receive public comments. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G. All in favor of receipt? Carries. Item 4.1, adoption of the minutes of the previous regular council meeting being August 27th. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, are there any errors or omissions? All in favor of receipt? Carries. We have some correspondence for action. A couple correspondence for action under 7.1 and then 7.2. So 7.1, VARDA's looking for myself to be reappointed to their VARDA board for a 1-year term. What's council's wish? Councillor Pearson?
So move that you be reappointed as the council delegate.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor MacLean? Discussion? Yes.
Just a quick question. As with all of our committees, are these annually looked at, or is this just VARDA a special case with their AGM coming up? I'm not.
Yeah, that you hit the nail head. It's their AGM coming up, what, 4th week, September. They are not a committee of council. Part of their bylaws are written in a way that they have representation from local government, both regional districts, TNRD, RDFFG in the village. So yeah, it's within their bylaws to look for these appointments.
Okay.
Additional discussion? All in favor of myself going back to VARDA for another year? Carries. And then under 7.2, Northern Health is looking to have some rental fees waived for their seniors committee event, elder care, for October 5th of this year. What's council's wish?
I move that we waive the fee.
Seconder? Councillor G. Councillor MacLean, thank you very much. Councillor G, seconder. Discussion on waiving of the fees. Hearing none, all in favor of waiving? Carries. Anything fancy anybody out of the reading file? Yes, Councillor Pearson.
Actually, I was glad I clicked on it because the title doesn't really bear a lot of meaning as far as the small aircraft pilot training, but the attached second part regarding accessing training to address the effects of new ammonia regulations. There's a lot of verbiage there, but I think what it boils down to is provincial government changing the rules and downloading the cost of upgrading training. It's not a village affair, it's regional district, but
In some cases.
yeah, this is going to affect a lot of budgets as far as upgrading training due to this. So I think it's just another case of provincial downloading.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I will RSVP to Kofi and just thank them for the invitation. It's just poor timing from a village standpoint and from just time of council. And then pull out number 10, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change Strategy, Action on Plastics. And as always, not as always, many initiatives looked at by the province. Like this example, I always encourage anybody wishing to comment, they do at engage.gov.bc.ca. It is pretty much front and center on that webpage. And if you're unable to do that, then I encourage a discussion with your MLA, and they will do that on your behalf or provide another avenue. Anybody else? All right, moving on. Building inspection report for August 2019. Motion to receive, please. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G. Any comments on the building inspector's report? Hearing, yes, Councillor
Just
Pearson.
nice to see solid fuel appliances continue to go up there.
Yeah,
Hopefully they're sufficiently rated.
they would be. I would. At least wet certified.
Yeah.
At this stage in the game. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of receipt? Carries. Item 9.2, Robson Valley Community Services. They have a request to council to provide a $7,500 matching fund from CBT, to provide $7,500 from the village that go towards leveraging CBT funds. And then also, they're looking for a portion of village-owned property in principle. So let's start with recommendation number 1, but I'll leave it to council for a motion. Oh,
I need to be recused.
You-
Yes, that is my employer.
you are employed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sept 13. Ah, just us quorum chickens. Is there a motion that council would like to entertain for this one? Pete, sorry, Councillor Pearson.
We can be informal. At this point, pending further information, I would move that we table this until next meeting and hopefully entertain a delegation from our VCS about this proposal.
We'll just get a seconder to that motion, then we can open it for discussion. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Pearson.
My thoughts are, as indicated earlier in public comment, that, we have several groups with the same goal, but we're vying for the same pot of money, but not necessarily talking amongst each other. So I think I'd like to get more information from RVCS on their proposal and maybe more input from the other organizations and then carry forward.
Okay. Further discussion? Do you have anything, Councillor MacLean, you want to add to that?
No,
Okay.
I agree.
Absolutely. So the motion was to table this to perhaps a future meeting or the next meeting? I missed that, I'm sorry.
He did
I was indicating next meeting. I'm not sure what their timeline is and if they could have a delegation ready. I mean,
It's a month away, is our next meeting. Because we don't have a
good
council
point.
meeting due to UBCM.
good point. I would
think
go with next meeting.
I think that's a fairly sufficient
Yeah,
window of time.
yeah, I would go
Okay.
with next meeting.
So that there was a motion to table this to the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, and there was a seconder. Yes. Counselor, that was for discussion or you were verifying that you were the seconder?
I was the
There's nobody on this side of the
Yeah.
room. Hearing no further discussion, we are all in favor of tabling to next meeting. And we will reach out to our VCS of this decision.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
also request a delegation as per Councillor Pearson.
Thank you very much. And there is a second recommendation that a portion of the village-owned property located at 13th Ave and Ash Street be provided in principle to Robson Valley Community Services in order that they may proceed with phase 1 of their proposed community hub. If we're tabling the whole event, I don't think we need to even entertain this, do we?
I wouldn't say no, but it's probably better to ask the question.
What do you think, Councilor?
I would table item 2 as well, pending the delegation at next meeting.
Seconder? Discussion? We are tabling till next meeting. Can somebody please grab Councillor G?
Seven 17.
717. Item 9.3, just for your interest, we are tabling this to the next meeting. Item 9.3, Valemount Airport Fuel Station Upgrades. Staff are looking to award a contract to Code Mechanical of Maple Ridge to a maximum of $200,000. It came well in under that mark, but have more than what the request for proposals called for, so really cool. What's council's wish?
I
Councillor
would
Pearson?
move that we go ahead with that recommendation.
Excellent. Seconder, Councillor G. Discussion. All in favor of awarding the airport fuel station upgrade contract to Code Mechanical of Maple Ridge? Carries. Item 10.1, Village of Valemount Permissive Tax Exemption Bylaw 809-2019 be given first, second, and third reading. It's council's wish. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean. Discussion on first, second, third reading of the Village of Valemount Permissive Tax Exemption. Hearing none, all in favor? Carries. We have 10.2, Village of Valemount zoning bylaw 2007 amendment bylaw number 810-2019 be given first and second reading. Council, Councillor G, Councillors MacLean. Discussion on first and second reading of the Village of Valemount zoning bylaw 2007 amendment bylaw 810-2019. Yes.
I just had a couple questions on, and I don't know if it's just a wording, where they talk about long-term residential rentals, and then the zoning, the land use allows for, what was their term, commercial lodging. Just clarifying if long-term residential rentals and commercial lodging are one and the same item.
Is there staff in the room that would like to take that question?
Sure. Not in this context. In this context, we understand that the property owners are looking for setting up long-term housing. So they would be like apartments that would be for rent for people long-term,
Okay.
and somewhere within their property.
And
Yes.
that's compatible with the definition commercial lodging under the land use planning
It's actually compatible with the amendments to the zoning bylaw that were actually presented by the Housing Committee and to allow more residential suites and commercial lots.
Okay.
Clarification provided?
There is one.
Bylaws are. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of first and second reading? Carries. Council reports. Councillor G, what have you been up to, Auntie G?
Well, most everyone knows my last couple weeks has been really focused on family, and I am very happy to announce the birth of my nephew on very early Thursday morning, very early in the week prior to, actually today was his due date, so that's pretty much what I have been up to. It was pretty hard to tear myself away from the little guy to come tonight. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
That's awesome. Councillor MacLean?
I also had nothing to report. I've been very busy and none of it seems to be reportable. A lot of it is preparatory stuff for the Transboundary Conference and Union of BC Municipalities. But other than that, I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson?
Well, of the 2 weeks, half of it was on vacation, and the rest, I think every committee has taken the summer off, so I also have nothing to report.
Very good. So on Friday the 30th, Mr. Robinson and I had a sit down with our physician lead from Northern Health here, Dr. Markham. Just kind of summarize some of the projects that are on the horizon, how it impacts our medical facility, staffing, things of that nature. And we made it a point to reconvene these little visits sooner than later because they're so valuable. We talked about pipelines and ski hills and campground closures and just what could be an eventual impact on staffing, particularly nursing. You mentioned doctors are A-okay, but there are consistent staffing challenges with nursing, which can impact the emergency department. So it was really cool to have a sit down with Dr. Markham. I had a NDIT PG RAC teleconference. A lot of really cool applications came in for this last intake of 2019, and that was on September 9th. And later that day, had received an invitation from the community forest to attend their meeting. It was suggested that since our further separation as a limited partnership, there wasn't enough official communication between our two corporations. And so I went out and presented a potential strategy that their board was in favor of, and it was a quarterly highlight that we can share between their board and our council and their board. So I think it was well received. I had to cut it short for a work-related incident, but it's always good to chat with their board. And that's my couple of 3 weeks. And yeah, preparatory work for the Transboundary, and looking forward to that. Motion to receive public comments, council reports. Councillor G, Councillor MacLean. Councillor G, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And congratulations to my colleagues on the left for not having much to report. I mean, August is kind of nice. All in favor of receipt? Carries. We have no in-camera items this evening, so I'll call for adjournment. Councillor Pearson. We are adjourned. 7:25.